Dad saw her photo and sat in silence for 3 minutes. I didn't plan on showing him. Not yet. I wasn't ready for the questions, the looks, the lecture that might follow, but something in me said, just do it. Let him see her. Let him see her. Let him see who she is to you, even if he doesn't understand it. So I did. I took out my phone, opened the photo, handed it to him without a word. No explanation, no warning, just her, smiling, soft eyes. The kind of calm that can't be faked. The kind of presence you feel, even through a screen. And he took the phone, looked at it, held it, and then nothing, silence. He didn't blink, didn't nod, didn't ask anything. Just sat there, staring. 3 minutes passed, long minutes. The kind that make your heart beat faster for no reason. The kind where every second feels like it's holding a conversation. No one's speaking out loud. And I watched him. I watched his face shift, but not in a bad way, not in the way I feared. There was something softer in his eyes, something like memory, or maybe understanding. He finally put the phone down gently, like it carried weight, not just digital pixels, but meaning. He didn't say she's beautiful. He didn't say tell me about her. What he said was this: she reminds me of someone I once loved, before life got complicated. And in that moment, I realized what the silence had been. It wasn't judgment, it wasn't confusion, it was recognition. He saw something in her that he hadn't seen in a long time. Truth, soft, steady truth. And for the first time in a long time, we didn't need to argue, because her photo said everything I couldn't. After he placed the phone down, the room stayed quiet. No one moved. Not even me. I was still stuck in that moment. That strange mix of fear, curiosity, and relief. I didn't expect him to get emotional. That's not the kind of man he is. He's always been the kind who sees everything through logic. Work hard, stay focused, choose wisely. Feelings. They're something you handle, not something you show. But right then, something had shifted. He didn't look at me with doubt in his eyes. He looked like someone remembering something he hadn't touched in years. And when he spoke again, his voice wasn't heavy. It was calm, almost tired. He said, "You don't see that kind of softness in people anymore." I asked him what he meant. He replied, "Her eyes, that photo, her eyes look like they've seen pain, but never let it make her bitter." That hit me deeper than I expected, because he was right. She's been through things, not everything she talks about, not everything she shows. In the way she pauses before talking about her past, in the way she chooses grace when she could choose distance, in the way she loves, not with fear, but with full-hearted faith. I told him a bit more after that. Not everything, just enough that she listens like she actually wants to understand, that she never rushes to judge, that she's the one person I feel safest being silent around. He nodded, not fast, but like he was taking it in. Then he said something I wasn't ready for. "You didn't choose her for convenience," he said. "You chose her for peace." And I knew right there he'd felt it too. He hadn't even met her, hadn't heard her laugh, hadn't seen the way she ties her hair up when she's focused, or how she bites her lip when she's nervous. But even from one photo, he knew she wasn't just another girl. She was someone different. And what stunned me the most was that he didn't try to question my choice. He didn't ask about her age, didn't bring up background, didn't make it about expectations. He just sat there, absorbing the presence of a woman who wasn't even in the room, but had already spoken volumes to him through one image. That's when I realized something. Real connection doesn't need paragraphs to be understood. Sometimes it's just felt. And maybe, just maybe, what he saw in her was the kind of love he once wished he had chosen too. The next morning, he brought it up again. Not in a big conversation, not in a serious tone, just casually, while stirring his tea, like it had been sitting in his mind all night. She looks like someone who knows how to carry things quietly, he said. He added, that kind of woman doesn't just appear. You meet her once, maybe twice, in a lifetime, if you're lucky. I didn't expect him to say that, especially not him. The man who told me, years ago, don't rush love. Stay focused. Not everyone who feels right is right. But this time, his voice wasn't filled with warning. It was full of respect. And it made me realize this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about him too. Something about seeing her, even just in a photo, had opened a part of him I hadn't seen in years. It made me wonder, who had he loved before? Who had he lost or walked away from because life told him to be practical instead of present? He didn't tell me. He didn't have to. His silence said enough. Later that day he asked me something I didn't expect. Does she know how much you admire her? I shrugged. I tell her, I try. But he shook his head slowly. No, I mean, do you show it? Not just with words, but in how you protect her name when she's not around. In how you make her feel safe being herself. Because women like her, they don't always ask for that, but they always deserve it. That hit me like a wave. Because he was right. She never asks for anything. Not praise, not proof, not reassurance. But I see it in her eyes sometimes. That small flicker of fear. The fear of being too much, too deep, too soft, in a world that's always rushing and never listening. And in that moment, I promised myself she would never feel like that with me. If my dad, a man built from old school values and silent strength, could see her worth from one photo, then I had no excuse not to honor her out loud. Because what I have with her, it's not casual, it's not a phase, it's something sacred. And sometimes, sacred things come wrapped in silence, just like he did that day when he sat with her photo and said nothing for 3 long minutes. But in those minutes, he said more than words ever could. It's strange what happens when someone sees your person, really sees them, and doesn't flinch. Not because they have to accept it, not because they're trying to be polite, but because in that moment something unspoken just clicks. After he looked at her picture, after those 3 minutes of silence that stretched like hours, my dad didn't ask a single question about her age. Because I expected it, expected the old lines. She's older than you. Are you sure you'll be on the same page long term? Don't you think you'll want different things? But none of that came. Instead, he just asked, does she give you peace? I said yes. He asked, does she see you, even when you're not showing your best? I nodded again. And then he said the one thing I didn't see coming. Then don't let your ego get loud when her love gets quiet. I didn't fully get it at first, but the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. He was trying to tell me something important, something he'd learned too late in his own life. That love like hers doesn't always come in grand gestures. It doesn't demand, it doesn't beg, it doesn't compete with chaos. It waits. It shows up quietly. And if you're too busy chasing noise, you'll miss the miracle standing still. I started seeing it everywhere after that talk. The little ways she loves. Not loud, Not flashy, but constant, like the way she double checks if I've eaten, the way she holds eye contact longer when I'm hiding something, the way she always reaches for my hand first, even in silence, the way she says, "I'm proud of you," on days when I've done absolutely nothing except survive. That's not romance, that's intimacy. That's love from someone who's not impressed by appearances. She's moved by authenticity. And when my dad sat with that photo, I think he saw something familiar. Not just a woman worth loving, but a woman he wished he had fought harder for back when he was my age. He never said that out loud, but you could feel it. You could feel the weight in his voice when he told me, "She's not the kind you walk away from just because things get hard." And that stuck with me, because the truth is, life will get hard. Feelings will shift. But if you're lucky enough to have someone who gives you a love that's steady and earned, not demanded, you don't leave that. You grow into it. So now when I look at her, I don't just see my partner. I see a mirror of everything I didn't know I needed. And all it took was one photo and 3 minutes of silence to realize what I almost took for granted. You know what stayed with me the most? It wasn't the silence itself. It was what came after. The way my dad looked at me, like he saw more than just who I was now. Like he was looking at the man I was becoming. And I don't think he expected to feel that just from a photo. But something about her presence in that image said more than words ever could. Later that evening, he asked me to show him the photo again. I handed over my phone. He stared at it for a few seconds, then smiled. That slow, knowing kind of smile that only comes when someone gets it. Then he said something simple but deep. "She looks like the kind of woman who'll never let you shrink just to make her feel big." And I felt that in my chest, because that's exactly who she is. She never asked me to downplay my dreams. She never got insecure about the things I'm still chasing. She never rolled her eyes when I got excited over something small. She celebrated. Even if she didn't fully understand it, she respected it, because it came from me. And that kind of support, you don't find it everywhere. Especially not from someone who's already built their own life. She didn't need me to complete her. She chose me to walk beside her. And the more I thought about it, the more I understood what my dad was really saying. He wasn't just giving me approval. He was warning me, in his own quiet way. Don't mess this up. Not because he doubts me, but because he knows. Women like her don't come around twice. Women who've already lived through the noise, who've had their hearts bruised but not broken, who've learned how to love without losing themselves. They don't beg for attention. They bring presence. They don't demand your time. They respect your silence. And they only ask for one thing in return: to be met with truth. So now when I look at her photo, even now as I sit here filming this, knowing she might watch, I want her to know that 3 minutes of silence from my dad, it said what most people never take the time to say. It said, "She matters." It said, "Don't waste." It said, "You're ready." And I am, not because I have everything figured out, not because I'm perfect, but because I finally understand what I've been given. A partner who brings calm into chaos, who teaches by example,